hat, for example. This hat, there's a designer done it. Manufacturer has done it. Someone has designed it. This hat. It didn't come by chance.
Correct.
Yes, you believe that?
Yes, sir.
So how come we have no designer? When you believe that this hat you're wearing has a designer?
What has the hat got to do with us?
Sorry?
Explain your connection between my hat and us.
Yes, I'm just getting you to the point of that. As this hat a designer, this hat you have a designer, we also have a designer. Because
how are you making that analogy? How do you know this hat is designed?
Okay. Can you get a hat by chance? By random? Can it make itself a hat? So a human being, can it create itself a human being?
Sorry?
Can a human being create himself? A human being, can they create themselves?
You mean are they born? Yes, they're born, aren't they? So they're created during when two adults have sexual intercourse, right? Do you mean the origin? Where did humans come from? Is that what you really ask?
No. Even you and us have been created by God.
Yes, I know you keep asserting that, but you can't demonstrate. And you're talking about my hat. I'm still. We agree that somebody made this hat. Right. Yes.
So this hat is a very basic hat. Someone designed it. So how can you believe that we have a designer who made us?
Why would I believe that?
Sorry?
Why would I believe that there's a designer?
Why will you believe that the hat has a designer?
Because I've seen many other hats and they're all being designed by human beings and we can see the process by which they're designed. That's why.
Good. So you know that you can't get something without being designed.
No, be careful what you say there. Wrong word.
How is wrong word?
Without cause.
How about the tree then? Is that designed?
The trees, yes.
How do you know they were designed? How do you know they were designed?
I will tell you how they are designed. We and the trees have been designed by God.
Yes, you're asserting that. How do you demonstrate that? We can demonstrate that this was designed.
Yes.
Because we can show it was designed. Some people made it. Yes. How do you demonstrate that God produced that tree?
We can.
Jesus, when his enemies were
everything must have a cause. You can't get something out of it by chance, by random. Everything must have
all the time, yeah, everywhere.
So this tree you see is for a purpose there, that we can take a lesson to know that there is a God. He created this tree just to take a lesson that He is the one that created this tree.
Yeah, you're confusing what happens causally on the earth with what's happened causally in the universe. That's two different things.
All right, okay. I'll show you the verse that God says.
The way most people ask the question is if you walked along the beach and you saw a watch on the beach, how would you know that's designed? That's really what you're asking. It's called Haley's watchmaker analysis.
So everything that you have now, everything you wear now has been designed.
You mean my clothes?
Everything.
Yes,
Shoes, your trousers, and everything has been designed. So how can you not be confused that we have a designer?
because I don't see any evidence of that.
Sorry?
Because I do not see any evidence that we have been designed by a designer. I'm open to the possibility. You can't demonstrate it.
What do you mean to see?
Say again?
You want something to see?
That doesn't have to be to see, but something demonstrable, something that could demonstrate that we've been designed. Like we can demonstrate this. You agree that we could demonstrate this being designed?
Right.
Yeah, all our clothes. Or we could go to a factory and we could see it being designed. Yeah? How do we demonstrate that it's been designed?
What it says, were they created by nothing, or were they themselves the creators? Right? In this verse, what he's saying that were they created by nothing? We cannot be created out of nothing.
I agree with you.
Has made us.
Yes, I agree with you. Stardust made us.
Sorry?
Stardust is what we are. If you look back in time far enough, we are here because stars exploded in the universe. We are
So who caused
stardust.
that? Who caused that?
Sorry?
Who caused that?
Who caused what?
Yes, who caused that explosion?
The stars themselves.
How themselves?
So when they grew up, they explode. When the stars get bigger, they eventually get to a point and they explode, called a supernova. So we've observed that through science. Yeah.
Everything must have a cause.
Yes, in the universe, correct.
Cause and effect.
Yes, in the universe. Inside the universe, yes.
So that cause basically you believe it.
I believe there's a cause for everything inside the universe.
This cause, what must have this cause? What properties must this cause have?
Say again.
What this property must what this cause? What
Cause of what?
The cause and effect that made this universe to come out. What property must it have?
We don't know. Nobody on this planet knows. We can speculate, but nobody
I
knows.
will tell you, energy.
Say again.
It has energy.
Sorry. What about energy?
This cause and effect, the property has must be energy.
We don't know what caused the universe. That's the honest answer. Nobody
I'm
knows.
telling you, this cause must have energy,
Yes, you're asserting. Fine.
right?
And
Because otherwise, with no energy, there's no work. No energy, no work.
we don't know what happened before the universe. That's the honest answer. We do not know what happened before this universe. That's the honest answer.
I'm telling you.
I know you're trying to tell me, but that's not. You're not being strictly accurate.
No, it's different. This cause must have energy in order to explode this kind of thing. Right? The existence of the universe. This property must have energy. And also must have a consciousness. Do you believe?
No.
I'll give you an example. You have a cosmos teacher, and you have the all ingredients of making it.
I need to stand a bit closer because I can't hear you so well. Yep.
Brother,
Sorry.
can you take him to discuss about the existence of God? He said, can you prove me that God exists? He wants that, how universe is started. He believes that there is a cause and effect of the universe. So if you...
This question is simple. Either God exists, God doesn't exist. There's only two options.
Correct.
There's no third.
Correct.
So, which of the answers seems to be more rational and more towards the truth? Because can you really prove with a scientific methodology whether God exists or not? Is that a scientific question, first of all?
Well, let me ask you, so yes, it can be a scientific question in the following sense. Do you believe there's a God that's outside of the universe?
When you say outside of the universe,
So
yes.
sitting outside the universe looking in, like the universe is a ball and he's looking outside.
The
Yes.
creator is outside creation created.
Yes. Does he somehow come into this and fiddle with the particles? Is there a way that he actually
Creator can intervene within his creation.
Fantastic. Can we test that with science?
How? What are your methods?
Well, I'm asking you, so if he...
No, you are
came in
proposing.
here-
I would like to see whether it's testable.
Say again?
Because you're proposing, I would like to see how this is testable.
Okay, so I don't think you heard my question. The question was, can he stir the particles? You said yes, he can come into the universe.
It's not like this. You ask, oh God, come down and stir the particles. It's not like the creator doesn't behave on people's demands. It's like saying, okay, just whenever you need him, okay, he shows up. So
That's not what I'm saying.
yeah. So when you want to test something, you have to test something that's already.
First commandment before
Yeah, let's go.
no, Jesus. You twist Jesus.
Very difficult to hear you.
So
People shout.
what would be your method of investigating the effects of the creator?
So a scientific method. So you tell me when he's interfered in the earth. Give me an example of
So
it.
he has definitely interfered during the times when the prophets were, when he raised the prophets, and he's given prophets and messengers.
Yes, yeah.
So at that time, it's definitely has shown his communication and it's interfered, as you said, within or intervened.
How did he do that? How did he do that?
How did he communicated to his?
So he communicated to Muhammad.
He communicated.
To Gabriel. Right. And why should we take that as being true?
No, it's not about being true or not, because you wanted to know how we test it. So
Yes.
I've given you times when this intervention has occurred. So now you tell me what are your methods that you're going to use to demonstrate that, in fact we can test it.
So you're talking about something of history
So
1400 years ago.
I'm giving you the historical time time frame.
Yes.
You devised the methodology.
So we'd use history to go back and look at that, wouldn't we?
Okay, go ahead and do that.
So we go back there and we ask, is it reasonable to believe that somebody went into a cave and said that they spoke to God or the angel?
Yeah, that was the first instance. Of course, not all the revelation was in the cave. This is only the first, few sentences. And later on, all the other revelation came to him in daytime, in various places where people were witnesses, and so on. So we have historical records that, he had received revelation from God. People saw him in a state where, at the time when he was on the camel would depress on the sand. Depress on the sand. That's how heavy the burden of revelation it was. So the narrations are there in history. So what are your methodological stands that you can take now to test this? That's what I want to know, before I want to give you any evidence of any kind.
So are you asking me, how do I test whether that's true?
No. You asked a few questions initially. Does God intervene?
We're originally about the universe.
So we talked about, yes, there are times when clearly the Creator has intervened within the creation. And I gave you the time examples and specifically focused on Prophet Muhammad. So now I've given you the time frame. You now tell us what methods are you going to use to test that. I am not giving you anything. You are the ones to because you said it's a scientific way you can demonstrate it. So you should come up with a scientific method.
Right, so you're talking about something that happened 1400 years ago, correct? So science wasn't around in 1400 years ago in the same way it is today, correct? So if God intervened now, today, we would be able to test it, wouldn't we, through scientific method? You're asking me to show you or offer you some way to scientifically prove something before science happened 1400 years ago, correct?
I don't understand what you're saying. Scientific inquiry has always been human beings. The Greeks knew it, the Hindus, the Romans, the Egyptians, they all had their scientific endeavor and the contributions to the world's knowledge. So even before Prophet Muhammad was there, we had the Greeks and the Egyptians with huge sophistication of the scientific understanding. It wasn't the science was absent, the scientific advancement that we have today may be more than what it was then back then.
Correct.
And it will be more after 1400 years ago. It will be even more.
So,
continuing
given the science they had then and the technological tools they had then, not necessarily.
Compared to today?
Compared to today was not as primitive, but still they could still observe the stars and calculate how far they are or how much, a lot of things. Okay.
What, prior to when?
It was within the time.
There's no point in arguing about that because we're going to waste time.
No.
I'm saying that it's primitive. You're saying science wasn't primitive.
When Islam encouraged people to understand the world, from then onwards, within 30, 40, 50 years and 100 years, how Muslims were starting to explore the universe and understanding, right? So you had during the times of the different caliphs, how they set up centers of investigation and knowledge, and started looking at the cosmos and observing, naming the stars and talking about where the distance and calculation, all of this they were doing. Okay? So they were already able to do a lot of these things even back then. They didn't have those instruments of advancement that we have today, but they still were able to calculate a lot of things using mathematics and so on, which they developed. They developed the science of trigonometry and geometry in a broad sense, and they started calculating a lot of things. You don't need to go and travel around the earth and all over and say the radius of the earth. They can do calculations with this. So the early calculation was not that they had to travel and then measure with a ruler or a tape. They did calculations from mathematics. So the science is not that primitive, but it was, it existed there. So we can now ask, how are we going to measure with a scientific method, whether God intervened or not? What can we do? That is what you have to come up with.
So I have to come up with a scientific method that's going to look back at 1400 years ago.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
Because I've given you a time frame where God has clearly intervened.
You assert that He's intervened. How do we know that's true?
That's why you have to test it. Because you are the one who are trying to test it. So devise the methodology and test it.
I think you're going about this the wrong way around.
No. I never claimed it's a scientific question. You did. You came up with the ideas that we can actually test with scientific method whether God has indeed intervened in the universe to prove God exists or not. That was your approach. So I tried to help you by locating within our historical time frame where God, according to our belief, has certainly intervened. And I gave you the time frame at the time of Muhammad 1400 years ago. So I've given you a time frame. You now come up with your methods, because you said it's a scientific question, and tell us, and then we can see whether it's actually testable or not.
Why we not start from Moses and Jesus, Nabat? I mean, in order for him to accept the Prophet Muhammad, he has to accept Jesus came with God's revelation as well.
No, we believe, even prior to Muhammad, God has intervened with different prophets and messengers.
Yeah.
Okay? For example, we say, how he saved Prophet Moses. This is how, I'm giving you theology, I'm not giving you a science or history. This is what we believe. That when the Pharaoh was about to chase him and to capture him and him, he parted the sea, crossed the sea, and went to the other side. But when the Pharaoh followed, the water came together with the intervention of God, and they all drowned. And so
I'm aware of the story, yes.
So these are our theological stance I'm just giving too. Now we should be able to, with our scientific methodology, to try and test it if we so wish. Whether these are indeed true or not. Did it really happen or not? Okay? So you have to now devise the method, because you say it's testable. If you're using a tool, you should give us the tools and the methods to use it, and then we can see, okay, let's do that and see whether this is giving us the right results or not.
Right. So there's a difference between something happening 1400 years ago and something happening now. Would you agree with that? Yeah. So the scientific method that we can use to investigate things now is different to a scientific method we could use to do something 1400 years ago.
But we are in a better position with a better equipment today to investigate what happened then.
Correct, but it happened 1400 years ago. So all traces from a scientific view. In other words, if I went to the Red Sea with my scientific question, with my scientific equipment, all I'd see is the Red Sea. Correct? I wouldn't see any evidence of it having been parted.
What if now you find if a sea is parted and someone was able to walk through this?
Yes.
Now, did the base of the sea rise up a bit? And because there are lots of questions you can ask, so that or was it that there was a portion of the sea or a portion of this particular seafront, because it doesn't have to be an ocean, it passed very quickly. So was it the Red Sea? Was it the other seas that we're talking about during his exodus? Was it a portion which was not so deep? Yep, when the water was like a camera. Was it not so deep? It's lightning. It's about to rain soon.
Yeah, exactly.
The forecast was about 8 o'clock, right? So we're now 7 o'clock. So
we need to move quickly.
So are we able to demonstrate this by looking at going to a place where it's claimed to be, and then say, okay, do you find any traces of chariot wheels, for example, buried under the sea? Do we find skeletons, remains under the sea, buried under the sand? There are a lot of ways you can do this in
archaeological dig, etc.
Yes. So you can do that. You can actually do a scientific investigations on this. But the question is, are we doing it enough to actually answer this question? Because the question has been answered is mainly sponsored by religious authorities, because this is a common to Judeo-Christian Islamic traditions, and some people are doing isolated studies here and there based on their theological motives, let's call it. We would like the scientific community to go and say, let's answer this scientifically. Is that happening? Personally, I don't know, unless you can tell me otherwise.
I don't know whether it is, right. I guess the question is, so you asked it to me, I asked it to you, I'm not a scientist, how are they going to test it? So you said to me, maybe they should go and dive under the sea and see if there's...
Yeah, remnants remains. Because if we expect someone going there and the other people were drowned with their chariots, so there should be some remains there still. It's not that, okay, they're all swept away. Is it something there? Did afterwards people make some monuments on this issue, like, okay, this is the day when the Pharaoh was drowned? Do we have... Yes, it will be soon.
About to get soaked.
Yeah.
So is your position that people aren't actually making enough of a scientific effort to check whether this is true?
I'm saying, if we want, there's a lot of ways we can test it.
Right, so we aren't testing it fully.
I don't know.
Right, okay.
I don't know.
You're not making a
I'm not making a prediction. I'm saying, are people doing it? If they are, it's better we go and...
Is science the only method that we can come to know something?
Science has its limitations, as you all understand.
Of course.
But within its limitations, we can investigate a lot of things of the natural world.
But what about frowns a dead body? He says it's still safe in Egypt.
Hopefully I can see you again next Sunday.
Actually, what's your name? Rob. We may have to continue discussions another time because it's going to go with Ray. Okay, you take care.
All right, guys.
To see more videos like this, subscribe to Titans TV down below. Thanks.
Calling Django. The greatest darky that bite with shark teeth and hate malarkey. The greatest
King of Kings? Who is the Lord of Lords? Who is God in heaven? Who is God on earth? Jesus! Died on the cross. Jesus! And rose again. Jesus! Now is in heaven. Jesus! Waits for you and me. Jesus! Wants to bring you home. Jesus! The name? Jesus! Jesus! See, now you say Allahu Akbar. I say Yahweh. Huwa Al-Akbar. Jay restricts himself to Yahuwah Elo, Yahuwah Ahud. Yes? You take that and you find Huwa Elo, Huwa Ahad. Kul Huwallahu Ahad. Say, your Lord is one. I invite you to Islam and come to the right path instead of the respectfully confused way. Thank you.
The black god waiting to attack as soon as the queen says march. Who me? I'm the reincarnation and the resurrection of a star. Who you? You the reincarnation and the resurrection of a star. Who me? My life is priceless, my life is righteous, cause who you are has